Hello, Handel here. Welcome back to another round of demos, and this time it's never second in Rome. And it's not a blind play of a demo this time, because I have already put 3 or 4 hours into this game just to understand it. So instead of showing you a normal play, which would take 3 hours for finishing this demo, I'm gonna show you the meat of it, and we'll skip some parts that will be repetitive or a bit repetitive, and it's very interesting. It's story driven, choose your own adventure, Roman style game, pixel artic, and it reminds me of some of the older choose your own text adventures you could play in the early 90s or in the mid late 90s. So it's it's a bit interesting, and it's got a lot of rules in between that with very long descriptions, which I will not read to you. I will just tell you what happens and give you a bit of an overview how this game works. So first off, we go into a new game, and by going into a new game, you have to choose how your general attributes are set. It's character creation. So first of all, let me set that up. So this is what I set up. What does this do? It's basically like in every RPG, each of these stats is useful somewhere. So strength, of course, is for doing damage, constitution is your life, endurance is your stamina or fatigue, quickness is how quick you are, of course, and coordination is about stance loss. What stance loss is, we come to it when we are in a fight. And charisma, awareness, intellect, and bravery are all stats you need outside of fighting, which, by the way, is not the only or main part of the game, but it's the one that will take you the longest. And these will be used in your politics and in your camp management, as this is also a management game. It's not only a fighting game. So I picked this one. Oh, wait a minute. I want it to be brilliant. That's my mistake. Let's put 2 points right. So now we are brilliant and versatile. So these are, you see what you can take by, for example, take an iron will. You have discipline and bravery. Talented, you just get something extra. Fearless and versatile is just better in everything. You see, I get a bonus on every point, and brilliant just gives me another 10 intellect, which is one of the, I would say, harder stats to get up. And over the right, to the right, you see now our stats. So you see strength, constitution, all the basic stuff, and that is just how our character looks. And these skills down here, they are used for fighting, of course. Short, sword, shield, javelin, and discipline are very interesting things we need. Here are the skills if you want to read it. And current is how good you are, and potential is where you can go or train it. Then the question is, did we get a direct commission to our post, or so as a general or as a commander here and have no effects, or did we get promoted here, which is possible due to our stats we choose. As you can see, all mental is 51 and so on. I'm gonna take that as I'm saying we were promoted, and then you have to take choose your first, let's say, 3 years of gameplay. How did you come into the position? So there is stuff with minimum requirements or no requirements. So I could have been Tesserarius, which is up for discipline, charisma, and intellect. I could also just have intellect, as I was a bookkeeper. Or this one I cannot do because I have not the awareness for it. And I am going to actually take the charisma and the Tesserarius. And in year 2, you can now go further. So I could have gone with the Librarius before and now could have done this for more intellect. Or I can just go up here and say I'm a Signifier, an Optio, or Tesserarius. And again, Tesserarius. This time we are going for the obtuse. Or maybe the bravery. Let's do a signifier. And then on our third year we were another signifier still, and get a bit more bravery and awareness. So we pick a random name. We are 6. Well, let's click it a few times. We are Gnaeus Vibius, and I could take a cognomen, but I do not. So now our second in command, our obtuse, we have to choose. And here the game tells you it should be charisma, is a good or important thing here. Awareness, discipline are also desirable, and intellect might be as well. So you can look here and see the stats, and this one is a very strong fighter, in itself. He has very high base stats for fighting and strength, but his charisma is only 57, his awareness is 52, and his discipline is 46. So compared to the others, not that far off from awareness and discipline if we look at it. So the best, let's say, best charismatic character would be this guy with a 65. And then awareness and discipline would be 57, and here it's 52, here's 64, and discipline 50, 48, 46. So this discipline difference is not as high. And this one is the worst fighter. So I think I will take this one with the not so bad charisma, and we take him as our second in command. And now we have to decide how our sentry looks like, or not looks like. This is what our sentry looks like now, and a sentry is our unit. It currently has 74 members in it. It normally is comprised of 80 people, and 6 of those sentries form a cohort, and 10 of those cohorts form a legion, and several legions form an army. So we are in the 10th cohort of the 11th legion, and that's it. Yeah, that's our unit. You can see here they've got base stat lines. We've got nothing because these are recruits. We got them and they are just recruits. You see here the potential they can get to, and you see how good they are, and they are the worst. So what we have to do is train, and that's the first part of the game. So here you see our characters. This is the, I would call it, text and history part, where you can get a lot of information on what is happening. I will not go or read this. I'm gonna click it through. You can read it if you want to, and just pause it. I highly recommend it. I read it in the first part, but this is just a small backstory on Rome, on where we are. So there was a bit of a civil war, and now we are in a bit of more peaceful times, and we are stationed in the in the northern part of what's now Italy, and this in the southern Alps, so to say, and we are stationed there, and new pro-consulate is in, and yes, there is someone coming along, and the new pro-consul is some dude named Gaius Julius Caesar, so you will probably know his name, so you can figure out where we are going. And we are in the northern part, or the southern Alps, and of course we are going through the Alps and up to the north to fight barbarians and follow this new proconsul in his endeavors. So this was the first part. We are already 10 minutes in, and this was just character creation. This is the base screen. It's not much, and what we do here is, first of all, we have to train our people. The game, you can click on all of these, or you can hover over these to will tell you what is what, and I will just tell you now. So first of all, we have part 1 of the story, and it's turn 1 of 10, and we have now 10 turns in training and exercising as we are stationed and are training our new recruits. Over here we've got a few indicators how good or bad we are doing. the better we are, the more favor we get with Caesar, our proconsul, and the worse we do, of course, he does not like us. And overall, there's administration, that is just a score. There's supervision, which will help you recognize strong individuals. And if I go into the summaries and go into our army and go to people, you can see that we can have we have our second in command. We can have a signifier, a Tesserarius, and we can have 5 notable individuals. First of all, they can be used to do individual fights, and they can also be put into positions once one of these guys dies. So it is always better to have them in reserve, or have them to step up. That's our education, and that's the only way you can increase intellect and charisma. And I show you where I can do that, but it's the hardest stat to get up. That's why I took intellect in the first time. And other duties are just other duties, and we can gain favor by being good administrator and good doing other duties. We can get favors with Caesar. So down here you see we have a few things. First of all, there's trade. We have 300 coins. These are Sisteri, and we will get paid our due. And with this, as it's a Roman army, everyone is here and has to get their equipment themselves. So if I buy something here, it will show up in my stash, but it will not show up in the stash for my sentry or for my other characters. You can see each of the individuals will have their own stuff. And you can see what it's made of, the material quality, and so on. And there are some specials, appearances. And down here you see some stats. I'm not going to go into them as much, but there's a bypass difficulty that tells you how hard it is for the enemy to hit you through armor. Then damage protection is how much health damage can be absorbed by the armor. And AAR is anti-armor resistance. So this tells you if you can basically have glancing blows, or if the enemy can even penetrate you. And down here you see the total penalties, and since this is, of course, you can see here penalties, for example, on the mail armor, it gives us protection, it gives us anti-armor, it gives us material bypass difficulty for torso and groin, and it gives us some penalties on our endurance, quickness, and coordination, because you're lumping around with this. And if you ever tried to track somewhere and were in the army, and then you have a sack on the weapons and all the stuff with you, you are 20 kilos heavier than before, and this of course weighs you down. Your quickness is down, endurance is down, so the stamina is down. Coordination is a bit harder with all the stuff you're wearing around and sucking around. And awareness, of course, you have a helmet on, so you're not as mobile as you could be. These will come into play. These stats will come into play in the fight, in a single fight. There is a difference between cohort fight and between your units fight, the century fight, and the single fight, and we will come to that. Okay, so, and if we buy something, that's where we actually were. I cannot give it to Manius Erucius, because if I buy, for example, these bracers, I can take them off and put them here, and it's my personal stash, as each one is has to buy their own stuff or find their own stuff. So far. Okay, so that's trade. We can buy stuff, and we can buy some miscellaneous stuff. So we could buy, for example, a slave, or get slaves, which will help us keep morale higher. We have a base morale, and if we win or lose or do some stuff, we can get morale, but it will always go down to the stable part. And the more slaves we have, they help us with our life, the better our stability and our resting morale is. Then we've got some ways to temper with our morale, and or down here we have some ways to temper the morale of the sentry. So that's trade, that's inventory. Summaries. Here you can see your overview for your character. That's our main character, and I'm not gonna go through everything. Here are the stats. Here is what you need to level up these stats. This is the maximum range you can go. And over here you see your morale, you see your fatigue, as when you are in a campaign, of course, this one goes up or down. And yeah, if you go into reputation, here you see your reputation with, for example, Caesar, our proconsulate, and how we are doing on Valor part, Humanitas part. So you can always scroll over there and see that. You can see our special deeds if we did something, and you can see altars. I haven't had one of those. Here's the overview for our troops, for the century, and they also have morale and stuff. And here are our special people. And now we come to the training part, which we will do now for 10 rounds before the campaign continues. So, we have a base training on everything here. And if I start with my unit. This is the unit. So we are doing base training, and we have to do mandatory training here. You can see the pips, and each pip is 1 pip here. And you can see if I want to do better in other duties and start stacking up, I have to put in here a lot of points. And the maximum you can do is this. That's 8 points. Okay, and depending on your stats or the stats of your century, some things are quicker, some things are slower. So if I go back here, for example, and you see that our century is way off their potential, we will get bonus points for everything we are training, as we are way off the potential. Once you reach or get close to your potential, training is down a bit. And yeah, we want to do swords, shields, javelin, and we want to put in here a bit of everything. That's my way of doing it. You can do extra work. If you see here, you can do now extra work. Or if I got too lower, these were the mandatory parts, and you can see here, if I give them some rest, they get morale up and they get opinion of me, but and they get their strain down. So strain is their long-term. So fatigue is the one for during fighting, and strain is the one we use or you need for long-term. So the longer you train them hard, the more they will be unrested if we go into a fight. And you see here, if I put them to extra work, you see what happens. Yeah. So that's the troops done. You can say here if you want to do some artillery training, because before a fight sometimes you can try to do some artillery strikes with a scorpion. And you also, of course, have, as always, a stat for that. Like you see here, artillery, we are the worst at artillery right now. That's why we will put it to frequent, just to get it up a bit. And for ourselves, first of all, I will get education going, as you can read it here if you want to, but you have to put points here to get education up, the marker we saw on the front page. But to get education, the whole point, you cannot go further than the mandatory training. If you go into the respite training or training parts, then education is basically you use all your time for training and there's no time for learning. And what I want to do is also, as well for me, I'm going to do, first of all, we are doing admin and supervision. We want to bring supervision up to find individuals, and administration, depending on how high your intellect is, your character doesn't need as much. I think with 2 we would get administration points each round, and with 3 we are just accumulating it and get a lot of favor. And then we put in here a bit of constitution and strength, and quickness would be nice, and coordination would also be nice. But first, let's get up our fighting abilities, as this is not a manager from behind, we are managing from the front. That is it, we set up, and now I can click next, and as you can see, our morale went up, the century, our whole troop, look at this, they learned a lot, and we just keep it this way. We got paid our austerity 1,400, and now you can see here admin went up, supervision went up, education is growing. No other duties, because we are not putting much in, we are just keeping the balance. I don't want to get negatives. And I'm just going to click through here. You can see each turn we get something, and every few turns you can get some events like this one. Now, the Legionaries discreetly offers you 50 sesterces if you let him dodge the most menial and strenuous duties for a year. So here you can decide your own adventure and how your general is going. So do we accept the bribe? Do we, of course, that has a part to play with our integrity. If we accept bribes and stuff, our integrity goes down. And yeah, we can also do corporal punishment, which of course will pull our humanitas down. And I will say we take disciplinary action just to ward off the others. So look at this, integrity went up and we are now a bit higher in integrity, and discipline for us went up to 100 and the morale for us, for the troops, went down by 1. And the century is the troops. So you can see here we got 200 points in discipline, probably did nothing. Let's see, here's the AP. 200 AP put us over the edge, and we got another level in discipline. And discipline is very important later on, because this is the health of your troops in a fight. We will come to that. Oh, well, I will now pause this here. I will skip forward either until something happens, or we get to the end of the management part and get into the campaign part. I forgot to tune you in. Here is another example of something that can happen. We have a mock training battle with other cohorts or other legions of or other parts of the legion we are part of on the cohorts. So there's a mock battle going on, and sometimes you have to decide what you want to do. So there are checks, and here, for example, I had to decide whether I wanted to whether my troops are good enough. That's basically a numbers check on your century, on how good your discipline is. And if you drag over this, you see this. It tells you the check here. It's our throw was good, nothing impressive. So now close in and engage the adversaries in hand-to-hand combat. So that's training. Sword shield is the one we need, and we take the highest of both. So 20 it's 20 of the century, and the difficulty is rather low, but you do not see what the number is. So if I click this, you see we just barely passed. So we just passed everything and nothing special. We were not exactly great, but we also were fine, and we did not lose anything. The first time I played, for example, our javelin throws were totally wasted, and we were not good at that, and we got reprimanded for it because our troops were not good. And we showed no shortcomings, and you see here we get a bit of opinion. So that is stuff that can happen. And we move on, and I just keep you in. Oh, let's see. Now we can appoint new staff. So appointing new staff is a bit of a trickier thing. I want to pick out a signifier. You can see here I could use the one I already have, my second in command, but I can also pick out a new one. So I basically generate a new troop. And here it says melee skills and bravery are very important to a signifier. Charisma is also beneficial. So what we want to do is the best ability of him, I say, is sword fighting. Then we want to give the next best, 3 superior ones, I say, is bravery. Then let's go with strength, and let's go with endurance. Then for better than average things, we go for the charisma, because it says it needs this. We go for constitution, quickness, and we go for discipline. And then we have to say which is his worst, and I say his worst is javelin throwing, or maybe intellect. Let's give him intellect. And you see this here, this says how often we can use that. So when I now go, this is I generate this one, and here is my new signifier, and he's a really strong fighter, and he is my signifier, so he's my banner bearer. And I can also get a bookkeeper here and pick a new one. And now you see here I can only put sword as the best available character point twice before it will replenish, and I need to generate 4 people to get this one. Okay. You see here we need good discipline. Intellect is also very important, charisma and awareness as well. So what we do is we go with discipline, that's our first character. Then we take intellect, the awareness, the charisma as his best, just all of the normal ones. And then we go with sword, bravery, let's do strength and endurance. And now we have to say what's his worst, and I say he's the worst javelin thrower in the world. Not in the world, but for our troops. And here is our guy. Not as bad as you would think, but overall he is, he is a good bookkeeper. And you see here, supervision is going up, way up. And the supervision also stays for next phases here. You will not lose that. You will lose the admin and the other duties to 0, but overall supervision will stay as is. And you see here we are getting stuff done. We can also look in here and look if something fancies our eye. For example, I could take this for appearance, which could be helpful in the fight. Or I could take this one, as the penalties are reduced with this one. It would cost me 1,500, for example. With right click I buy it, and I go in here and I equip it. And now we have greaves here, and you would think that I could give it to my people, but I can't, as each one of the soldiers is responsible for their own equipment. So they get money and they have to do their own equipment. That's how this one goes. Okay, now in we go. You see here we have trained a lot, and part 1 is now finished. So this is what it looks like. If you remember, we were on 4, 4, 1, 1 and whatever this was, and now we are at half potential. And over here, base was 50, and we are now at 56 and so on. And you see here, my cohort as well has, of course, standard equipment. And the standard equipment is the same as with these people here. And yeah, that is what it looks like. And yeah, overall, we trained, we are ready, we got the improvement in intellect and charisma, and now if I move on, we will get our opinion points with Caesar for our good admin. And here comes the next story part. So this is the start of the campaign, and what this will tell you, I will click through it just so you can see it, but we are going to the north because the Helvetii are going in and... So we are back, sorry, quick intermission here for me, not for you, but for me. Anyway, you can come in here and read this if you want to, but we are going into our Gallia Transalpina. That's a region in the northern part of the Alps and the southern part of what is now, I think, France. And we are, or is it France? No, it's Germany in the Rhone, and it's not. Yeah, anyway, we are going through the Alps and we are going to Gallia Transalpina, which is the furthest the Roman Empire is going so far. I mean, this is Julius Caesar, you know, he is gonna conquer a lot of stuff down there to the Rhone and beyond to the western parts. And this is the story of this. So the parts there are still very much what is now France, and all the other parts are now barbarians. And there are some that are coming in and are trying to raid. And there's one legion stationed there, and the rest was in the southern Alps, and we are now moving over there. So that is what is this first part. We are now on the campaign. He took us, and he will move with us through the Alps, and now we have to do some stuff. So you see here, we're going through the Alps. Some barbarian tribes are harassing us, and now we have to build a fortified camp each time we want to. Yeah, we get a rest, so to say. And here we have the a small mini game, and you see here the stats of our troops, and we have to build this. So in 20 turns, we have to you have to build the whole camp again. So wooden walls, palisades, tents, bridges, and siege equipment. You can just do normal. You see here, green is the part that we definitely get, and red is if we do a roll, and then we can have a chance of getting a bonus production. Rolls in this game. Now that's the first roll we've seen. That's not a normal check, and these checks are always, as far as I have seen, 2d50 against another 2d50. So we rolled 2d50, got as a result 39, and that against the 69 would have not worked. Then we have a modifier of minus 21. This is because when we would hover over here, it says in the second part, a further slice is the bonus production, which only applies if an engineering roll against the difficulty of 50 succeeds. So this bonus is proportionate to engineering and discipline. So what this means, in my opinion, is we did not succeed, of course. And we have some modifiers that pulled us down, and we did not get the bonus. Here it was close, but still no cigar. And this one, we got the bonus. You see here we have 51 minus the 21 modifier is 30 against the 12. So I don't know why it tells you here a difficulty of 50, but who knows. As far as I get this, we are engineering 29 and 50 is the difficulty of the engineering, so 21 is the modifier, and our 2d50 result minus the modifier of minus 21 equals 30, and 12 is what we rolled on the other part against which we have to win. Anyway, we just move on here. There's nothing else. We could push our workers, so if we are falling behind and we have we think we will not make it, we can, with a bit of pushing and a bit of opinion suffering, get them to work faster. We can also say build better equipment, which would give us more quality, and which of course gains us some popularity with Caesar. And you can see here, to finish this in 20 turns, you have to build 1/4 in 5 turns, and we are already up. So we have done now, what is it, 3, 6, we have 8. We've done 8. We are on our 9th turn, and we are already halfway done after the 9th. So we are 1 turn up. I'm just gonna push that through here. And the idea is, that's what I did last time. You can see here now, we can finish it this turn. 3 turns prior to what is supposed to happen. So what we can do is once, twice, we do superiority for this and get a bit of extra, and then we just finish it. And you can see we get a bit of engineering increase, and Caesar like that, and we continue. I'm not gonna read this. I'm gonna give you just the quick parts here. And yeah, this evening there is some skirmishing happening, but we are deemed too inexperienced and should stay back. And we can now decide if we stay with our troops and let the other, the 7th century deal with it, the ones that are close by to us, or if we tell our second in command to stay and we will go alone into the fight. As we are not the strongest fighter, I will remain with the troops, and we let them handle it because the text said they are already more experienced than us, and we are done. So now, competitiveness points are converted into everyday morale with a ratio of 4:1. Lead them through the ordeal. So our intellect or charisma decides if we win this check, and our intellect is high enough, 66, and that's the seems that's the middle. 66 should be the middle between intellect and charisma. So we get a discipline bonus for our sentry, and they now get a bit more discipline. And potential discipline went up by 1. All good. And the lingering fatigue. So you see here down, current, next tier, and fatigue tier. Current, we are on 0. Next tier happens at 100. So if we accumulate too much fatigue, we get up a tier, and once we get up a tier, you see here it goes from it goes to fatigue, tired, exhausted, and collapsing, and each one gives disastrous modifiers. Fatigue is handleable, tired is not good, exhausted is worse, or really bad, and collapsing is, yeah, well, you are basically dying at that point. The enemy will just overrun you. So, there is a messenger coming back from a battlefield of a one-sided massacre. Busy as they were crossing the river, the Helvetii were totally unprepared for battle. Caesar intends to build a bridge to get over the zone as quickly as possible and keep the pressure on the bulk of the enemy. Do we want to send our engineers to help? It says here difficulty is 1/3. I don't know how much it is, but I could think that maybe we are not high enough in engineering. Sorry again. Again, for me, a bit of a short break, and now let's continue. So we are going to try this check, and we failed. Barely. And we lose a bit of opinion because they were getting in the way. It was my call. We can't shift the blame on them. I mean, if I wanted to, I could say punish them because they were bad, but I do not want to. It was my call, and it was risky. I knew that we probably hadn't the ability, but yeah. So we move on. You can pause and read the text if you want to. It's very interesting. It's historical stuff in there. I read it all in the first part for myself, and it's a bit of you can call it interactive history module where you are getting a few background infos on different things, on how this campaign is going, my guess is this game will follow Caesar through his campaign against the barbarians in the north. Anyway, we are close to a fight. Now comes the meaty part of the game, or meaty is good. We are already 36 minutes in, and you have only seen 36 minutes. I have been playing for an hour now already, and the fight now that will happen, that will take probably around an hour-ish, and I will show you the bits and interesting parts that you can see what this game is all about, and then you can decide for yourself if it's something you're interested in. So before the fight, we can go in here and say if we want to give the gods a favor, ask for a favor, better yet. So we can do a cheap sacrifice, we can do a sacrifice, which gives us a bit of competitiveness. We can go all out, or we can even go build an altar. Yeah? And we could do that, but we do not have the money for it. As you can see here, that is very, very expensive. But religion plays an important role in the Roman parts, and we give a small sacrifice. It will cost us 200 of our sestertii, but we will get a bit of religious stuff, and most importantly, we get 5 competitiveness. And this is the fighting screen. This is how fights happen. So, the minimum goal. We have a goal. The cohesion of our enemy must be 1200 or less at the end of the fight, and our cohesion must be higher than our enemies. So far, ours is higher than the enemies, but theirs is 1500, and we need to get them down by 300. So, welcome to the fighting part, and here there is a lot of stuff. There's question marks everywhere, so if you want to try it for yourself and want to read it, that's all here. There is so many interlinking parts and numbers that I will not read it to you because I will just try to explain you the bare minimums, I would say, but what you see on the screen and how this one works on the upper parts, and I even myself have not seen all of the interior parts and understood how all of them work together. So, left hand side. Here is our century. That's the typical equipment of our century. You see we are very, very well equipped. This is the Helvetian light infantry, our enemies for this fight, and they've got spears and they've got a small shield. And you see here they have a bonus, a polearm front defense. And it says here, as long as they have at least 300 front, they will get this bonus. And if it drops below 150, this unit will suffer a double basic advantage modifier for individual conflicts whenever the opponent successfully presses the advantage. So, which means in personal fights later on, which we will see, they will get a negative modifier. Okay, what is front? What is cohesion? This is the meaty part of the fight. This is your HP pool basically, and it says here it's the max value normally amounts to 1,500 plus the formation's discipline times 20, but it can be altered by other factors. So if you remember, this is our century. Our century has a discipline of 29, and you can now see 29 times 20 plus the 1,500 comes down to 2,080. That's the health pool for our 74 men. As you remember, we have 74 men in our formation, and they accumulate to a cohesion of 2,080. If you lose a man, this one goes down quickly. So I think it's roughly 100 cohesion per man that dies. And front is a defensive modifier. So you see here, the maximum front is 25% of the current cohesion value. So the higher your cohesion, the higher your front value, of course. And the better the defensive value you get. Or the longer you get the defensive bonus. And the defensive bonus here is that the damage is reduced for every thing that is coming in. So if we take cohesion damage, front takes half of it, and the rest goes to cohesion. So instead of taking full damage on our health, we take something into, let's call it armor. And we get a bonus here. And you see here, that's the defensive bonus variety of the formation, the eventual and front line. Its base value is equal to 1 point for every 30 points of your front up to 300. So 300 is the minimum. As you can see here, minimum 300. If we go below, you get negative modifiers. So 300 is the minimum. Then we get, for every 30 points, we get 1 point of defense, which translates to 10 points of defense. And then we get, for every 20 above to 300, we get another point, which translates to, in total, 21 defensive points. And over here, the enemy has 17, and that's their cohesion. This is the main part. Then there are other modifiers, like high ground, for example, as we are, the story told us that, we are on a hill, and they are coming up to us. And the other thing that is very important for the fight is this one, fatigue and lingering. So fatigue is the part where we are getting exhausted. And that's down to our endurance, you can see here, and 100 is the maximum we can go to before we slip into the next modifier part. So as long as we stay under 100, we can we stay normal, and once we go over 100, we get a bit exhausted or fatigued and get -4 modifier for the rest of the fight. You cannot bring that down except for in the lulls of the battle. We come to that when it's time for it. Lingering is your, I would say, creeping baseline fatigue. So now we are on 0 of 100. If we accumulate a bit of lingering fatigue, like say 40, like the enemy, that means that their fatigue can never go under 40. They will always, even if we get a rest phase, they will always stay at a minimum of 40 of 86. So they can't. Yeah, they are very quick in getting exhaustion modifiers. That's what that is saying. And imbalance is our cohesion, and that one is important as we have a few stances you will see in, soon. And depending on which stance we use, we either can regulate this imbalance down or up. You see it here, very cautious -2, cautious -1, steadfast, fierce, and all out. And you can also read here what happens if you go above or below. So you should always stay between -5 and +5 to not get any modifiers, but that's not always possible. Same goes for the AI. And then we've got determination and the difference in determination, which gives here, you can see it gives some bonuses and some modifiers. Again, a lot of numbers. I'm not gonna go into more details than that. And we've got a bit of morale system, which comes in later. Down here we have us. That's our character. And that's our obtuse, our second character. And you can see here I can switch between front and back. And there's a morale system here, so it is expected of me as the leader to stay in front, but not all the time. I can also retreat to not get my my fatigue up too fast. Yes, and here is our third guy. So we've got 3 individual guys you can see here. This, I think this was our second in command, and this is our Thesaurus, or opinion. No, that's the banner. That's the banner guy. Okay, and here's the current size of our troops, 74. The fight is going to take a few rounds. You see here we are in round 0, we are starting. We are not yet engaged, and we will engage. We have a first phase of firing javelins, then we go into melee clash, and then there will be some time when it says slowly disengaging and disengaging, then we get a lull, and then we go back into melee fighting. That's how this works. And over here, this is the total combat parts. So far, it has been 4 chapters for each fight. So we've got the first melee fight, then we've got the lull, then we've got a second, then we got a lull, a third, and then another lull, rest, and then we got the last fighting part. That's what happens to me so far. Yeah. Okay. So far, so good. Now, let's begin. Again, remember, every check that now comes is a 2d50 against a 2d50. So I continue. This is the first part. We are now in the javelin throwing part. So both they and us can fire. And here you can see we have a javelin skill of 22 and a ground factor because we are up. So we got a value of 32. And the enemy has a value of 42 because they've superior javelin skill and they've got javelin skill. So they are up. And you can see the difference is -10. So we get a -10 modifier on our roll. The enemy gets a +10 modifier on their roll, which will decide who will throw first. And throwing first, of course, means getting the enemy to be worse. We can now throw normally, or we can act in advance. And you can see we can try to get the advantage on our side because our leader has a big int and awareness stat, which really gives us the advantage. As throwing normally, it's a javelin skill that is checked against, and if we do the act in advance part, you see here we get the bonus as their leader is not as good as ours, and we have the advantage, so we are definitely going to use that. And then we roll, and you see here we get the modifier. Oh, sorry, they don't get the -22, we get the +22. So we rolled a 65. They rolled a 29, so we would have won anyway, and we get the modifier, and so we win against their roll, and we begin throwing. So here you can see, you can scroll over every number and see what's happening and what is what. We have the throw initiative, and you see here javelin skill, target difficulty, throw initiative, ground factor, lose target because they've got loose formation. Overall, we get a +11. So now we roll 2d50 +11 and hope that it's higher than another 2d50 roll. And you can see here we missed. Fall off target, and we missed. Which in itself gets us another malus, as our second in command bungled his throw and his valor went down a bit. Now comes the enemy, and the enemy has a -7 as they are on target difficulty, morale, and the high ground of us. And so let's see what they do. They also not hit. So nothing happened. Everything normal. Now we get into the fighting phase. This is the melee phase. You see here, not yet engaged. This is the first contact phase. And here you can see now the commitment we can do. So you see, this is our bravery with our intellect and charisma. This is theirs with their inferior determination. You see they get a malus. If you go over here, you see -7 when trying to seize the initiative. That's down there in the lower determination suffer. And that's how these numbers come together. And we have a +16. And we can try to say our commitment for this phase. Each melee phase is comprised of several rounds getting the initiative. Who starts? the whole fighting round, and then we have always one attacking round for each side. And you see what the momentum does here. And steadfast, as you saw here in imbalance, gives us one imbalance per round. So if I go with steadfast here and play 2 rounds of fighting, we have an imbalance of 2. And then we have to decide what we do. If we go here, we have fierce, that's +2. And we get a bonus, of course. So attacking bonus to the right as we go all out, or defensive bonus to the left, where we try to go in and be safe. I want the initiative. I want to be the first one to attack, so we keep it at steadfast right down the middle. I have seen the AI go all out in the first rounds to get the upper hand on us in the first run. So, success, we are the beginning part. So we are now engaged, and now comes the real fighting part. First of all, we can decide if we want to stay back or in the front. As this is the start of the battle, we stay in front. Then this is our clash capacity. You see here discipline, combat skill, and so on and so forth. And that's the AIs. And this is our advantage. So we can get some specials in here. First of all, we could try to take advantage of better stats by Matthias, which he does not have. So we go with us ourselves in the front. Then we have a bonus possibility of shield push, as we have shields, big shields, and we can do a formation push, which of course, as you see there, it says it gives us fatigue +4 for everyone in the formation, but it gives us a really big advantage in pushing the enemy. I am going to leave it as is, because I don't want to imbalance us too far. Also, if you go way in one direction or the other, you see there's an exclamation mark. We lose cohesion if we change too hard. So we can go 1 to either side, but not 2. That's not advisable. Also, our defense, if we go fierce and all out, you see that we lose defensive bonus, as we are just going all out, of course. And cautious, if I go here, you see no clash. We do not do no fighting, because if they stay steadfast and we go very cautious, there is not enough momentum that we have a real fight, and just it's not a lull. It's basically rounds without any casualties or big casualties. We go down the middle just to show it. We stay steadfast for now. And we take point, and we start that. So, and you see here, we tried 3 times, and we got 3 momentum, 2 momentum charges, and 1 failed. So, momentum, you see here, we got 2 now. For each we win, the enemy gets 2 points of damage. You see here, they lost 4 cohesion, and they lost in the front 3. So yeah, that's what happened here. We inflicted 8 damage, and the 8 damage was distributed between the front and the cohesion, because that's their damage sponge, the armor, and that's the health pool. Now, this gives us an advantage opportunity. That's why we wanted to have the first run at them, because now we have the opportunity to run at the enemy and do some damage, because we have the upper hand. That's gonna change now, and you will see in a minute. But for now, we have the first strike and we have the first momentum, and this means we will do an advantage. And you see here, we failed both of those, so nothing happened. If we would have won that, we would have done some more damage, but we did not. Now it's the AI's turn. That's the second part of the first melee, or of the melee clash. Now they have a chance to push up their momentum. Let's see what happens. They failed, and had a success. And they now only have 1 momentum, did 4 damage to us, which translated to a 1 and 2. And now we still have the momentum, as they did not manage to get the momentum and go to an equal footing. We get an advantage and have a chance to attack again, and this time we succeeded. You saw there, we succeeded, and we get another damage roll, and this time it's about doing more damage. So, first of all, we have a chance now to get more damage in. You see here a few modifiers. Kill modifier is very important later on. and we had a threat roll. And you see here we had a modifier of -20. As yeah, you see defensive skill. It's the beginning of the fight, not many malices, and we had a 28 against the 54 and the 51 against the 53, so no extra damage. If we would have won one of these, we will do that in at some point. If you would have won that, they get a bit of formation damage, and once you do a threat roll win, you roll against the kill modifier, -38, so same roll again, and then -38, and if you win that roll, you kill one of their troops, and one of their troops is worth 100 formation or cohesion. That's very important, so these kill rolls can really do a lot of damage. So now, first round of combat done, next round of combat. And you can see here we are still engaged, everything fine, and we can now decide what you want to do. So they were steadfast, we were steadfast. We could now go fierce. If we do that, our defense goes down, and most importantly, we would go to, we see we are on +2, we would get +2 for fierce, so that's +4 in total for 2 rounds of fighting before we can change the commitment again. So we would be on imbalance 6 and get a few negatives. And most important, we can go back to committed steadfast and then try to get this down. So you want to try to keep this balanced. We could go back and say we stay cautious for this turn to get this to 0 again, or we could say we stay steadfast, and that's what I'm going to do. And this time we hit all 3 times. You see here we are 3 on 2. We are having the upper hand now, and both times we hit. And here you see now the threat happening. So the kill did not happen, but we did a bit of extra damage. And they suffered a threat, which means for every threat that goes through and there's no kill roll, we get a bonus modifier so that you can get over the hump of this one, and at some point you will do a kill. Which seems fine, because the more you attack, of course, and the more chances you had, the harder it is for the AI or for the enemy not to get damage in. So, and here you see what happens when the AI goes very cautious, or when we would go very cautious. They go into very cautious, and this means that they will not fight, or we will not have a fight here, as it says here, the commitment is not high enough from either side to have a fight happening. So we would have to have done fierce. You see here, we need to do fierce to get damage in. Otherwise, no fight is happening. If they stay very cautious, nothing will happen. And what I want to do now is go cautious and get our imbalance down, because they will lose cohesion if they want to do, see that, cautious, no fight happening, because they have they only went up 1 and we went down 1, so we are now fine again, and we go steadfast again. And there are the 3 rolls. That is how fighting works. We won 3 times now, very strong. And we hit both of our specials, which gave them a bit of damage, and now the threat rolls, nothing happened. I still haven't found out why sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 1. But I think it's the difference in momentum that gives you the advantage. So I have to watch if that's true. Okay, the AI is attacking. As they are cautious, we are steadfast, so we have enough momentum to fight. And they will try to hit us 3 times with their roll -17. And they did a failure and 2 wins. So we got a bit of damage. But most importantly, they still have not the momentum we have, so we have the upper hand and we get the advantage again. And here we are. No extra damage. So that is how fighting works. I'm just gonna do the fight now. We are on an hour. That's how the game works. We do management, we do character creation, then we do management, we do a bit of history and text adventure, we do fighting. And after the fighting, we go back to management or text adventure, depending on how the acts are working out. You can see it for yourself if you want to try it. But this is the fighting. I am going to go now and play a bit here. and I will speed it up for you so you can see what happens if you want to see it, and we will see each other in a few seconds or half a minute. I totally forget something. I will not go. We haven't done everything in a fight. You haven't seen individual fighting, and you haven't seen the lull phase. I am stupid. This is not everything to a fight. So let's just continue here. Okay. So here comes the first lull phase. So you can see we did nearly get no damage, they get a bit of damage, and here comes the first lull. So the first lull, we get a bit of fatigue down, and we get a bit of current cohesion up. And sometimes we have more options, but right now we just, well, regained competitiveness and people, and they did not. So this was that. I'm gonna speed up now again until we get to an individual fight, so I will show you the individual fight. There should some happen at this part. Okay, here it finally happened. We have a personal fight. So once you get into these conflict parts with the threat, it could be that instead of rolling, you get a personal fight. And this time, our second in command is involved in a fight. And this is individual fighting. It's like fencing, I would say. I'm not gonna go over everything that is in here. You see, there's a whole lot of stats. The important parts: your health and your stance. It's not normal that you will get killed or kill someone. It's very hard to actually to hit someone. That's because of stance. Stance is the most important thing you have here. If your stance is below what is the maximum, you lose your defensive modifiers. So you see here, the stance will help you defend, and you need to recover that. So every time you attack and you miss or the attacker blocks, you will lose stance. Every time you get hit by the enemy, you lose stance. Every time special attacks, some stuff, you lose stance. The more stance you lost, the worse your modifiers are, the better his are, and he will kill you. Then there's 4 stances you can do, 4 formation thingies you can do. You can do regular, you can do a defensive careful thing where every attack roll goes down, but of course your speed goes down, but you improve protection. You've got a rapid where you go stronger or quicker and hit better, and you've got a forceful where if you know you're a really good fighter, you can go in and do a lot of damage if you want. So we close in and start the individual fight. So here you see we have 2 actions. The AI had 2 actions, and you see here that their very, very high fatigue caused them to lose speed. And once you lose 500 speed, you lose an action for each round, in the next upcoming round. So normally you have 2 per round, but if you go down, you will only have 1, or if you're really, really bad and worst off, you can also have 0 for 1 round. The AI used its 2 actions to get its defense up, which means that if I want to try to do something here, so for example to hit, you see my to hit numbers are bad. The opponent's front defense, so your overall army defense plays into it, how it's working. You see that here. And also the difficulty and the opponent's defensive bonus of 14 don't make it better. So what you can do is you can strike, that's just a normal attack. You can soft spot attack, which will do more damage, but is harder to hit. You can do a feint. That is something you want to try to do to get their stance down. It doesn't do damage, it just gets their stance down. Or you can do shield things. You can try to intimidate the enemy. The opponent becomes intimidated and gets -5 to all modifiers for 3 rounds. So it's your stances. And you can do a focus, a defensive or offensive focus. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to intimidate him. It's again a 50-50, 2D, as always, 2D50 against the 2D50 and modifiers. And we won that, so now he has -5 on all his rolls. And as he cannot do anything against me, I can go into offensive focus for free and get an attack bonus next turn. So here you see, he tries to hit me, and I defended, and he lost a lot of stance. So he tried 2 attacks. The first one missed and nothing happened. The second one missed a hit, but we defended it. And this time we had a difference that was higher, a lot higher than a bit. And once that happens, you get a penalty, like him. And now his stance is down, and we have an attack up, and he is intimidated. So now look at this. Suddenly we have plus modifiers instead of negative modifiers to attack, and we can go even on a soft attack, on a +6 or a strike on a +14. I am going for the +14. This one tells you that it's just favorable, but nothing happens. Sometimes if your attack gets even better than the enemies, you will get even, if he defends, you are still up, have the upper hand, so you do not lose stance or not as much. Anyway, we attack the torso, and that's a strong attack, and we get the +14, and you can see here, we had our roll that was 20 points over 70, so 98 to 70 is 28 points over, and that was over his defender stance divided by 4. That's why you need stance, because 90 divided by 4 gives you a 15, or 52 divided by 4 gives you a 15. Would he had he 90, he would have had a higher defender stance and could have maybe avoided more damage. And now we did damage, and he lost a bit of bravery. That's how you can kill, but you have to set it up, or you have to be the stronger part. And you look at this. Now his stance is a bit down, he's down, and we are gonna try to go for a soft spot here. That's what happens when your attack is that is what happens when your attack is successful, but you're under the defender's stance. The difference is under the defender's stance, then you just do a stance damage. And he tried to recover, and due to his fatigue, he had only one action, and the one action failed. And now he is soft. We will try to attack him, no attack bonuses this time, and we hit. And once we end the fight, or this fight ends after 5 rounds, if the enemy dies, we get a lot of points, and he loses some formation or cohesion. If we do not kill him and we just have a normal fight, it's like boxing where you get a point system, and one side is declared basically the winner, and you get a few bonuses. Okay, so we hit him hard. And now you can see here, even if he defends, we would not lose a lot of stance, as we still have the upper hand. But I'm gonna go for the kill now. Nice. And you see here, now it's only 9, and 9 is still over his defender stance, and that is good for us. Otherwise, we would not have done any damage. Oof, bad roll. Okay, try it again. That is a strong roll, he cannot do anything about it. And he did not recover. Second recover also did not happen. And now we are probably going to kill him. Oh, he defended. Okay. Then let's just do a normal head attack. Yes, that's a hit, and he's down. So here you saw performance. This is what I meant. Once the combat is done, you get a performance boost and a bit of the rest. And you see here damage to formation. We did a lot of damage. That's why we killed him. That's why he gets 100 formation damage. If we would not have killed him, it would have been between 16 to 4 or 0. Can also be 0 if both sides. I had fights where we both were so bad at fighting that and so exhausted that none hit and nothing happened. That is single fight. That's why you need sometimes good fighters, and this hurts him. We killed one of his guys, and now he loses 116 cohesion. Look at this. He lost a lot of cohesion, and 116 cohesion lost means a lot of front lost as well. That was a big hit for him. Anyway, this was now everything this has to give. I'm now going into speed up mode so that you can see what the end of the fight looks like. Or, yeah. So here we are at the end of the fight. The fight would end now anyway, as our 4 rounds of fighting are through and disengaging was on, so this would have been the end. But we brought the enemy cohesion to 0, so we killed them off fully. You can see here now, that's the end screen. Looks same as the rest. We had a really strong fight. I mean, our century is now a bit fatigued for sure. I hope the engagement is not prolonged, but this is incredible. Was a really strong first fight. We can now think of stealing something. We do not want to do that. I am going to be with a high integrity here. And now, yeah, we kept the vow we did before the fight. We won. We got religious AP, so AP went up. We got a bit of money. We lost the money, but we will for sure get some loot now assigned to us. Or not loot, but we will get money. So here's a bit of fluff text now on what happened after the fight. They ran away, of course, and we get a bit of loot, 500 hysteria. And this is part 1. And yeah, we move on. We can now get our potential abilities up, and you can see here it costs only 1. So we want to get the potential for, what do we want to get up? How about we go with awareness and charisma, as they are very low. And here we can increase the maximum potential for our troops. I want to give them more discipline, more shield, more sword, and more sword and more discipline. So that is fighting. You see this screen again, and we are back. So this is it. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. I will for sure, for myself at least, buy this game, as this is a fun endeavor, and it's, well, my wife doesn't know how I can play these games. She thinks it's just like watching Excel spreadsheets all day and looking at them and getting enjoyment out of playing Excel spreadsheets, but hey, everyone has own thing. Anyway, thank you for watching, and this was the demo for No Second in Rome.